So we're going to continue with equations today, but specifically equations that have a fraction in them. So we're going to do what's called ratios and proportions. It's a fancy way of saying fraction. So a ratio is a comparison of two numbers. A good example of this. But the ratio is smaller. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, that's the example I use. Same proportions, it's just smaller. Yes. Yeah, like a travel size. So it can be written x2y, something to something. You can see the little like colon, the two dots, but most of the time you're going to see it as a fraction, something over something else. So it says write each ratio in simplest form. That means reduce the fraction, make the numbers smaller, in other words. So when you look at 4 and 6, hey kiddos, what do those both divide by? 2. Okay, so you're going to divide the numerator by 2 and divide the denominator by 2. And if you can do it in your head, you don't have to write that divide by 2, divide by 2. But I'm just writing it out for everybody to see. And so what is your new numerator going to be?
2/3.
Yeah, so, oh, good. And then denominator will be 3. So 2/3. Let's do the same thing with this one. 40 and 8 will both divide by 8. So 40 divided by 8 is 5. 8 divided by 8 is 1. So you can write it as 5/1, or like just 5 is fine. Okay. This one says circle all of the ratios that are equivalent. So what does equivalent mean?
Equal.
Yeah, equal, the same. Okay. So we're going to reduce them all first and then see which ones are the same. Would 3/5 reduce? No. Okay. So just leave it alone. Would 6/10 reduce?
Yes.
What would they both divide by? 2. Okay. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Oh my gosh. Do you see how it came out to the same thing as this one? Okay. So we're going to circle those. We're looking for anything else that's also 3/5. Does this one reduce? No. And is it the same as 3/5? No. Okay. So 2/5 is not 3/5. And then will this one reduce?
Divide by 3.
Divide by 3. So 9 divided by 3
30.
is 3. And 15 divided by 3 is, oh my gosh, 5. So those 3 are all equivalent. 3/5, 6/10, 9/15, they're all equivalent. All right. So a fraction is just one number divided by another number. So those are ratios. A proportion is when you set them equal. So it just became an equation, exactly what you guys just practiced solving. They're just going to have fractions in them. And what you're going to do, and maybe circle this or underline it or highlight it, is cross multiply. You've done that before? Like when I say the words cross multiply, that's not a new, you've heard of that before?
Yeah.
Saw a couple heads nodding. Okay. Oh, did your teacher draw a butterfly?
Yeah.
On it? Okay, I can't draw a butterfly, but if that's what your previous teacher did, then fine. I just draw an X. It doesn't matter which way you cross first, but I always start with the top left just because that's how we read. When you read something, you start at the top left of the page and then go from there. So I always start here. So hey guys, watch me point to it. You're going to multiply across. X times 12 is 12x. I guess you could write x12, but we just usually put the coefficient first. Right? Then you're going to put an equal sign, which is, believe it or not, the most commonly missed thing is people forget about the equal sign. And then you're going to cross this way. 8 times 6 is 48. If you didn't know that, what would you use? Desmos calculator. Okay. What is 7 times 7?
49.
Why did you ask that, though? That has nothing to do with this problem. No. I can explain that to you later, but that's deviating from this lesson. So I'm going to just not, can we address that later? I will address that question, but not right this second. Okay. And then your last step, how would you go from there? You want to figure out what X is. Divide by 12. And so X equals 48 divided by 12. Does anyone know that one? I'll tell you if you know. It is 4. Good job. But if you didn't know that, you would use Desmos calculator. You're always allowed to calculate. Let's try it again. Draw your X. And again, I always start with the top left just because that's how we read. But it doesn't matter. All right. So we're going to cross this way first. 4 times 10 is 40 equals. Again, the most commonly missed thing is the equals sign. So don't lose that. And then when you cross this way, 2x. And so then what would you do to both sides? Divide by 2. And x is 20. All right, now these ones are going to get a little bit more complicated, but it's the same process. All right, we're going to cross this way. And again, I always start with the top left. It doesn't matter though, really. 7 times 6. Does anyone know them? Do we know our times tables? Maybe we need to review our times tables. 42. 42, good. Equals. Don't lose the equal sign. Now, when you cross this way, you need to put parentheses around the a minus 4. I call that giving it a hug. You have to give it a hug. So you're going to have 14 times the quantity a minus 4. And what does that mean you're going to have to do with the 14?
You're gonna the one that starts with
The one that starts with a D. Do you remember what that's called? Distribute. Good. So you have to give it a hug. All right. So 42 equals. Now, if you distribute that, it will be 14a minus. Okay, hold on. If you don't know 14 times 4, hold on, let me bring up the calculator and I'll share my screen here so it ends up on the recording.
54.
Or do you guys know that one? If you do 14 times 4,
56.
56. You guys were close. All right. So minus 56. Then what? This is back to the types of equations you were just doing as your activity. Now that all the fractions are gone, what would you do to both sides?
You do the question or like
You want a by itself. So how do you get rid of a minus 56? Yeah, plus 56. You have to do the opposite of what's there. So that's going to give us 98 equals 14a. And then your last step, divide by 14. Okay, if you don't know 98 divided by 14, then you're a normal person. I'm going to go over here to the calculator and type 98 divided by 14. 7. All right, let's try one more of these. Draw your X. You're going to need a few hugs here. Where do I need parentheses? There's 2 places. Yeah, the 3x plus 4 needs one, and the 5x minus 5 needs one. So again, I always start with the top left. When you multiply these, you're going to have 3 times parentheses 3x plus 4. You need those parentheses then. What comes next? Equals. Don't lose the equal sign. And then on the other side, you would have 2 and then parentheses 5x minus 5. So again, this should look like what you were doing in your activity where you partnered up with everybody. Does this look like what you had? I mean, yeah, now we're back to the same kind of question. So distribute the 3. Just multiply a 3 through there. What's that going to give you? 9x. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 12. Perfect. Equals, and then here when you distribute the 2, 10x minus 10. All right, then what? You need to get all the x's together.
you do the 10, you minus 10 from
Good, minus 10x. Hey, Miss Cole, I wanted to minus the 9x. That's fine, you do you. It actually doesn't make a difference, okay? 9x minus 10x would be negative 1x. And then we've got plus 12 equals. Ooh, this is tricky. What's still on this side? Good, negative 10. Not just 10, the negative is with it. I'm going to run out of space here. All right, minus 12 minus 12.
negative 22.
All right, I'm going to just come over here. Negative 1x equals negative 22. And you actually have one more step there. Yep. And good, it's a positive 22. Nice job, guys.
Yay.
Yay. We just have a few on the back. This isn't a hard concept, it's just cross multiply. Now these ones you're gonna have to read, all right? And your answer should have units with it, like minutes or hours or, liters or whatever it's talking about. Jason earns $152 in 4 days. At that rate, how many days will it take him to earn $532? Listen to me. You're already fading out and that your notes are one page. You got to stick with me. It doesn't matter which one goes in the numerator and which one goes in the denominator, but you have to be consistent. So the way I teach this is to tell everyone to make a note. There are 2 items going on in the problem. There are dollars and there are, what else? Days. Off to the side here, we're going to write dollars over days, and then you're just going to stay consistent with that. Again, if you wrote days over dollars, that's fine. You just have to be consistent. It doesn't matter which way you pick. You just have to do it the same way every time. So when we read the first part, $152, I'm going to put that on the top, over 4 days equals, you need an equals sign. Draw your fraction bar. Now, what's the other piece of information they gave us? Did they give us dollars or did they give us days?
Dollar.
So is it going to go on the top or the bottom? Good. Write yourself the note and then you'll know. 532 goes on the top. We're looking for the number of days. I always use X. You could put D for days. It doesn't matter what letter of the alphabet you pick. All right. And then we're going to cross multiply. So 152 times X, that's just 152X equals, I'm going to need the calculator for that one. 532 times 4. Any guesses?
Wait, hold on.
Oh, 532 times 4. Yeah, it's going to be thousands.
2096.
2,128. But you know what? Being able to estimate is a good skill. So if you knew it was 2,000 and something, then that's good. All right, and then your last step is divide by 152. So I'm going to go back to my calculator and divide by 152. Good job.
I actually did it.
14 is our answer. Now, you can't just write X equals 14. It's either dollars or days. You got to put your units. Good, days. Good job. You're all really smart. Let's try it again. A blueprint for a house states that 2.5 inches equals 10 feet. So what are the 2 things going on? Yeah, good. And it doesn't matter which one you put where, but you have to be consistent. Okay, so 2.5 is going to go in the numerator. 10 is going to go in the denominator. What comes after that? Equals. Good. And then draw a fraction bar, and then you decide what goes where. They told us the only other piece of information is 12 feet. So where's that going to go? On the bottom. Look, if you write yourself a note, you're going to know, and then X goes on the top. So cross multiply. So 2.5 times 12. If the decimal scares you, go right over here to your calculator. We're going to do 2.5 times 12. I got 30. So when you cross this direction, you get 30 equals what? 10x. Beautiful. And then what would you do next? Divide by 10. So X is 3. What? It's either inches or feet. Maybe you go back and read the problem. Inches is the one that we were looking for. But you have a 50-50 chance of guessing. So if you aren't sure, I mean, it's one or the other.
We get the question wrong if we don't write the right one.
I would take off like half a point.
All right.
Because I want you to show that you're reading the question. All right, research shows that 3 out of every 20 pet owners get their pet by adopting. Oh, anybody have an adopted dog? Oh, that's so awesome. I love dogs. No, some come from a breeder. All right, so 3 out of 20 pet owners get their pet by adopting. Of the 122 animals cared for by a vet, how many would you expect to be adopted? So we have adopted, this one's a little tricky. Ones that are adopted, and then out of all of them. So there's all the pets and then the ones that were adopted. So adopted and then every pet. So 3 out of 20 get their pet by adopting. So we're gonna have 3 out of 20. Ooh, what comes after that, guys? I know you guys think I'm so silly for like being so like dramatic about that, but that's the most common thing that people miss is the equal sign. All right, equals fraction bar. What's gonna go where? Read the rest of it. This is the only other number they gave us. So where does the 122 go? The bottom, good. And then on the top, that's what you're looking for. So you can call it whatever letter of the alphabet you want. All right, draw your X. 3 times 122. Anyone want to estimate or give a guess to that one?
366.
It would be 366. Good. That one wasn't too bad. Equals 20x when you multiply this way. And then last step is divide by 20. I'm going to go type that in. So 366 divided by 20. Now we're not going to decimal point a dog, okay? We're going to just say 18. So we're going to say X equals 18 pets. I guess it didn't say dogs. I said dogs because I just really like dogs, but pets. All right, last one. Jessica drives 130 miles every 2 hours. What are the two things going on here?
Miles an hour.
Yep, miles and hours. Write a note. It takes 1 second and then you won't mix it up. So how will we set up the first part?
130
Over 2. And then what happens next? Equals, all right, fraction bar. Let's see, it says 1,000 miles. So miles goes on the top. And then X goes on the bottom. So draw your X. Cross this way. 130x equals 1,000 times 2 is 2,000. And then we're going to divide by 130. So I will share my screen and type that in the calculator. Let's decimal point to one place. Let's review how to round. This would be 15 point, it says 3/8, so 4, good. 15.4 what? Hours. That's a long trip.